Hello, welcome to the Witchin Sisters podcast, where being a witch means living in this world consciously, powerfully, and unapologetically. And we're going to share with you how to go about doing this, what it means for us being witches and identifying as so, and how we incorporate that into our everyday life. So I am Chelon, and this is Shannon.
Hello, hello. I'm so
So
happy to be here.
me too. I'm excited to share in this adventure with you and all new experiences that are going to come from all of this. So,
Yes, this is going to be really good. We are going to just take a moment right now to set a little bit of a intention moving forward, not just for me and Shalon and our new adventure, but all of you that are joining us today. And we would just like to call in that divine feminine energy today, as it is Friday the 13th as well. So what a better day for us to spread this kind of love out into the world today. But I'd like to call in that divine feminine energy today to support us, sending us some extra love and abundance today, and just opening space for us to share our experiences, our knowledge, our power, and to empower other women to step into their witchiness.
absolutely.
Yes.
Love that. Love that.
Hmm.
So, Shannon and I actually wanted to share our backstory on how we met like 3 years ago
Right.
at
I can't believe
a,
it's been that long. It feels
I
like
know,
we've
I can't believe
actually
it is.
known each other longer, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Forever,
Right?
right?
And we'll get into that, I'm sure.
That's a
But
whole other situation, right?
yeah, that's a whole other podcast.
But it's just we met at a nude goddess retreat is what we met at, and that in itself was an incredible experience. But I just feel like we clicked like immediately, and like from day one, I guess we kind of just felt like we were like these witchy sisters from like a past life, and we just had so much in common, and we had this same journey of like self-love and empowerment and stepping into like our goddess energy and our witchiness and like really embracing
Hmm.
ourselves for the person or the woman that we are, right?
And I think too, it was what drew us towards each other was we were both more on the like more witchy side.
Yes.
Not so much like the light fairy energy. And I think that's what drew us to each other too initially is like,
Hmm.
this girl can't sit. Like we love
Yeah.
our more dark goddess aesthetics as well, and even the goddesses that we like to work with too. It's like we both just had a little bit more of like an edge to us, and I think that like caught my eye right away with you as well. And
Hmm.
it's like I don't know, you don't meet a lot of other women that identify themselves as a witch either, like outwardly.
Hmm.
So that was super refreshing to meet another woman who was outwardly open about being a witch.
Well, yeah, and because like as soon as like some as one when one person expresses that, then other people feel comfortable in expressing that as well. Am I right? Or
Absolutely,
even
absolutely. Because it's
or
like a
even they
little,
get
it's like a hidden secret a lot of times. A lot of women like practice or whatever, but they don't tell the people in their lives about it, right?
mm-mm. Or even when
Yeah,
you
so that
start
was good
talking about
times.
even when you start talking about and like the characteristics of like what a witch actually is, and then women start to realize that like, oh well, I do stuff like that. Like I love connecting with nature, I love collecting crystals, I love setting intentions, I love doing all of those things, right? I love pulling cards, I love whatever. Like those are all witchy aspects, and like it's totally
Hmm.
okay to share those with the world. And it's thankfully now becoming more and more common for those things and for people to actually share those things, I feel.
Well, like I say this all the time, is like I don't think that there's ever been a time in history up till now where women could come forward and safely express
Yes.
that they were healers, witches, priestesses, um, and not have any harm done. So
Hmm.
the fact that we're seeing that come forward more often is also because of the times that we live in. It's it's still very taboo to say that you're a witch, and I know everyone says like, oh, the woo woo and like things like that and make jokes around it, but it actually is, you're seeing a rise in women stepping into that and stepping
Hmm.
into their power, really is what it is, and not being ashamed of it. And like I said, not being scared. Like there's the fear of losing our lives for being our authentic selves and for being healers, isn't like as threatening as it would have been centuries ago, you know. So like I think that's also why we're just seeing such a rise in women stepping forward and safely speaking on being, you know, a witch or the practicing different modalities even.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was going to touch on that, like that there are so many new different modalities coming out all the time, and women are actually starting to like tap into their intuition and discover new modalities. Like I say all the time, like everybody can do like Reiki, but not everybody's Reiki is the same, right? Like everybody
Hmm.
incorporates it in different ways. Everybody has different skills. Everybody has different like senses and how they actually like receive their knowledge and like what they work towards all the time in their achieving what they're doing, right? Like I feel like you and I work more because we are like these dark witchy women, right? And we work with like these dark goddesses and stuff. We are diving into like the depths of the shadows and we are like revealing those, but it's about shining the light on those aspects, right? Or
Absolutely.
bringing those dark aspects to the light, because I'm always like, you can't have the darkness without the light. Like there is no one without the other.
Hmm. Yeah, there's no one without the other. And honestly, I think that what also me and you connected on when we first met was just that we both agreed like not everything is about love and light. And even when you're doing shadow work and even when you're working on, you know, maybe some of the darker sides of yourself, that is still shining a light. Like it
Yes.
still comes from the light. And so it's not about, you know, just negativity and being dark and moody and broody, though we are. Uh, you know, it's about like really embracing some of your more unlovable aspects of yourself, you know? And also I think being a witch too is like embracing the differences of life and the dichotomy of life, right? Because there always has to be that balance of light and dark, good and evil, like positive and negative. And for us, I think we saw like a lot of the spiritual community is wrapped around like love and light and positive thoughts and good vibes only. And that's just not how I practice, right?
Mhm.
I really like to get to the nitty gritty of things and get deep down and dark with it, right? And
Yeah.
I've always been that way. That's actually kind of like how I've always been my whole life. Like I seek truth, right? And
Hmm.
sometimes truth is not always pretty,
No,
right? And so
no,
when you're doing this journey and you're doing any sort of healing journey, that's kind of, you have to be aware that it's not always going to be really beautiful and pretty and like feel great, you know?
no. It
So
does
I
in the
think that's,
end.
it does, and it can be, but there's always going to be work. I mean, you're a human being, we're human, so you're always going to be going through some sort of thing, difficult times. We can't control that, right? But
Yeah.
it's a matter of like what we do with it and how we alchemize that, basically, right? Because that's what witches
Hmm.
do. We alchemize energy, we alchemize with like the physical world and like so many different things and turn it
Hmm.
into magic,
Yeah.
right?
Like turning your pain into power all the time is what I say. It was like,
Turning your
what did you
pain into
struggle through?
power.
What have you gone through? How can you like
Hmm.
bring those aspects into your passions and help other people do the same thing, right? Like, and when you were talking about like the truth or whatever, like that's what shadow work I find is. It's like bringing the truth to the light, right? Because like people don't want to deal with the aspects of themselves that they find shameful or that they've been judged or whatever, but it's really about loving those aspects of yourself as well, because that's what makes you human, that's what makes you you, right? And finding that balance between the two and being like, that's okay, right? That I have these parts of myself that maybe I was led to believe are unlovable, but in truth they are, right?
Totally. And I think that's also like one of the things that is a big, um, misconception about doing shadow work is that you're supposed to change these things or discard them or like fix them. But it's not always just about fixing it and being like, oh, I'm not going to be like that anymore and I'm going to change. It's not. It's like you said, it's about loving yourself in your most vulnerable places, right?
Absolutely. Yep. 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 For sure. So,
So nice.
we just wanted to touch on our like why we decided to get into this work as well, like
Mm-hmm.
more so as in regards to like I think like Shannon and I have both been through similar yet different circumstances and everything, and we really just like feel this call to share our messages with other women and help like empower them to like love these shadow aspects of themselves, right? That it's not shameful, that it is okay, and we want to like share our stories and our messages with everybody so that they can understand that they're not alone, that we're all going through shit sometimes, right? And that
Mm-hmm.
it's really about building a community of other women who feel the same, right? That
A
maybe don't resonate with
sisterhood,
the whole
right?
like, absolutely, like it's so important. I never really realized how much I was craving sisterhood until I came and met all you beautiful women at this retreat. And I was like, oh my God, I just remember I lived 8 hours away and I was like crying all the way home because I had to leave all these beautiful women I had just met. And I'd never felt so like safe and held and secure. And it's just incredible how
Mm-hmm.
like powerful and amazing these circles are and how like healing it can be like for the sister wound. Like I think we've all experienced like the sister wound at one point in time in our lives or not. Like I
Absolutely.
think you've touched base on that before, right?
Well, that's what brought me to the new goddess retreats in the first place, was because I knew that I struggled with connecting with women, and not just like friendship wise, but like in my family. And it was kind of a um, what do you call it? Like a cycle in my family, right? It was a toxic cycle in my family with the women. And so I just knew that something needed to change. And like you said, I just didn't realize how much I was missing that sisterhood in my life. And once I went to the retreats and, like you, met all of these incredible women who've become some of the most valuable people in my life. And it's like I've only known you for 2 or 3 years, but you become like these invaluable humans in my life that I love and support both both ways. We love and support each other, and I never felt so held and understood and seen and respected before, especially in a group of women, because we all know like there is that kind of ugly side to women sometimes, right? And there's these uh, you know, beliefs that women can't get along and women, you get enough women together, like it's going to be catty this and that and gossip. And it was not like that at all. Like
Yeah.
I felt so respected and safe and like no judgment whatsoever because everybody was there for the same reason,
Yes.
which was to be seen, to be heard. And if they wanted that, they wanted that respect for themselves. So they were already willing to extend that to whoever else was going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the most beautiful part of it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
when we move into this, like, what our why is because I think more women need to feel that way and need to or should have the opportunity to experience what that really feels like to be supported by other women and not feel that cattiness and that judgment and all of that stuff. And the way that society has set up women against each other as well.
Yeah.
It's time for us to take again, taking our power back. I think that's going to be the big pull, is that it's about taking your power back. A lot of, stepping into being a witch and being like it, embodying your inner witch is stepping into your power.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get to gather with women like that, it is a very powerful experience. Like the energy, the love that you feel is incredible.
Yeah. I always say, like, I always feel like we come together in these circles from different parts all over the place and we create this magic together. We grow, we evolve, and then we like take it back to where we came from, which I think is
Right.
amazing. How we get to take those aspects of ourselves, like our evolved selves and everything that we've learned, and share it with our community then after as well. Like, I
Hmm.
think that in itself is pretty magical as like in itself. And the fact that we as like not that women's circles are not healing and empowering in their own, but the fact that like we were at like this nude goddess circle is like the like it pushes your comfort level for sure and makes you step into this whole other level
It's a
of
whole other
vulnerability
level. Oh,
that
it's
is
a whole
like
other level
because
for
there
sure.
you are like it's exposed. Like I was like, you literally
Hmm.
are like bearing your soul and your all to everybody, and it is the most vulnerable thing, like of course
Mind,
on your
body,
own
and soul.
comfort level, right? Mind, body, soul, absolutely, right? And I think that's kind of what living as a witch is as well, like mind, body, soul. I was just talking to somebody today about like mother, maiden, crone, and like the Trinity and all of that kind of stuff, right? Like it's the three aspects of everything, right? And so, yeah, it's quite the experience for sure. And definitely like helped with my experience. And so like as like Shannon and I just want to like share these experiences with you so that you also feel safe to like show up and share yourself with the world as well, and to know that it's safe to do so,
Hmm.
right? And that, maybe if you are in a group of people that are not accepting of you and that are like, triggering your sister wound or whatever like that, necessarily those aren't your people, right? And as you start showing up more authentically as yourself, then you actually attract your people to you so that you are comfortable to be your most authentic self.
Yeah, and let me and Shalon be your people right now. Let us be
Absolutely.
your sisters. Come
Mm-hmm.
listen to us chat, and we're here too. You can always leave comments like below on whatever streaming site that you're listening on, because we will
Yeah,
be at least like checking in on those too and seeing what you all have to say. But yeah, let us be your sisters. Let's like it's a great place to start, and that's again our why. We want to share this sisterhood with so
yeah,
many other women as well, and
yeah.
feel like you said, feel like they have a space to come and feel safe and explore this part of themselves that they've not really had the chance to express.
Absolutely. Yeah. And to
Yeah,
create like this online community for women as well, so that like they have a
yeah.
place to go to basically
Mm-hmm.
to feel supported and everything. So, yeah, we also wanted to
Yes.
touch base on the fact that it is the day that we're recording this is the Friday the 13th, which is the beautiful day of the goddess and the divine feminine, and
Yes.
celebrating that with all
What a
women,
perfect day that we picked. Like,
isn't
I
it?
didn't even think of that, honestly, when we picked today. Like, I
Well,
didn't
neither did I.
even cross my mind at the moment, but it's like divine timing, right? Like, just divine
Absolutely.
timing.
Hmm. Hmm. I love it. Yeah. So we also, I don't know, do we want to touch base more on the divine feminine with the Friday the 13th, or do you want to share? Or
Um, do you want to share? I mean,
I
you
don't know,
probably know more about it than I do.
not necessarily.
No.
Just with the 13, like the 13 has always been like led to believe that it's like
Mm-hmm.
superstitious and everything, right? And in reality, it's not. It was just created to as a false belief in our society, and the divine feminine is associated with like the 13 because of we have the 13 cycles with the
13
moon, right?
cycles. Yep.
And all of that, and 13 is actually a
And
very
they're
magical lucky number, right? And it's very common for witches to work with the number 13, and that and so it's really about celebrating and honoring your divine feminine within today. And I know you're not listening to this on the 13th, but I just like invite you to still do so, because we are like in the energy, I guess, of Friday the 13th. And so you can still resonate that and use that power within yourself and everything still. So um,
yeah, I love that.
it would not be a witchy podcast if we didn't pull some oracle cards. So do you want to pull a card
Yes.
first?
Yes. Okay. I don't know which one I want to use. I was
Oh,
thinking,
whatever's called.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. if I want to use one of mine. What do you have? What do you have today?
I'm using my Rose Oracle card deck, which is funny because
Oh,
I always I don't do tarot, I only do Oracle. So I guess that's like me balancing my dark and light.
well, I do my tarot, but that one's so much more deep and like
Yeah.
intense, you know? So I'm gonna like I always use my earth magic, which again, being a witch, like that's what we do. We like to work with the earth, we like to work with the energy of
Yes.
the earth and the plants and the animals and honoring the cycles of the earth and the seasons. So let's see what comes through. I'd like to pull a card for the collective here and just see what message is there for everybody today on Friday the 13th. I know sometimes when I drop them, I will pick them up and use it, but there's like a bunch of them, so we're not going to do that today. Ooh, so I got desert. It says
Ooh.
Vision Quest. Vision Quest. Okay, so for me, that would be like, you know, the deeper visions for yourself and your life. Okay, so the message is in this arid climate zone that we call desert, images shift and change throughout the day, yet always maintain a sharp and defined presence. Those hardy species of flora and fauna that have covered a home in the desert have adapted over eons to the relative harshness that's a strong characteristic of these lands. Throughout history, we've passed down many stories of people wandering the deserts. Often they're about religious figures and ascended masters who had journeyed there and returned their people with remarkable visions. Return to their people with remarkable visions. The desert is an ideal place to seek a vision, or more accurately, to allow a vision to come to you. The quiet and the peace of such an environment is conducive to the solitude required to have this type of profound experience. Spending time in this region without the usual accoutrements of the civilized world can present survival challenges, or at least seem to. And this could rightfully be called a spirit quest, where through steadiness in this seemingly bleak environment, it becomes possible to receive direct guidance from spirit internally and in the world around you. So, a vision quest is a process whereby you spend a few days in the wilderness alone. Typically, you carry only water and some sacred items with you, and you spend most of the time praying or meditating. Many who have completed a vision quest assert that it is a powerful and even life-changing experience and report vivid and profound revelations. It is said that the desert does not lie. So partaking in this can help you discover the truth about your purpose, or at least give you some clues. It is time for you to go on a vision quest. Designate a place in nature in which to dwell, whether for a couple of hours or a few days. Spend the majority of your time while there praying and meditating. It is best to be in a location where you can truly find solitude, even if it is in a quiet corner of a park for an afternoon. Wherever you go, take your questions, concerns, or challenges with you into prayer or meditation. Allow it to float around you in your consciousness and watch what shows up. This is one of the more powerful cards. By drawing it, whatever other messages you may have received are amplified threefold. So whatever you're going to pull is going to be like amplified by three. So for
Ooh,
me, I
love that.
think the Desert Quest is also just about, again, retreating into yourself and learning to trust your own inner voice, right? And taking that time to quiet the world around you and really focus on what comes through for you and how does that show up for you, right? Like, how do you, especially if you're just starting your spiritual journey and you're not really sure what your abilities are, this is a great way for you to get in touch with how you receive messages because it's not the same for everybody. It's not the same. So sending yourself into that solitude and really going into a deep meditation and just even to the quiet is going to help you really focus on hearing, feeling the sensations in your body, sensing the energy around your body, and just like really starting to trust that process.
Absolutely. I love that. I also find like, I don't know about you, but when I first started like my spiritual journey and everything, I was like craving knowledge and more and more and more. And to the fact that it was like almost overwhelming and I almost could not trust my own intuition. And I was like seeking external sources for more validation and
Hmm.
more information. And then it was like almost confusing myself at some point where I was like, I almost like disregarded my own intuition because I was listening to so many other people around me. And then I feel like it kind of maybe like got me off course of where I was meaning to go in my journey. Right. And so I think that it is really important. And right now is the perfect time because we're like in the eclipse season and it's all about like turning inward. We're like in the void right now
Oh,
almost, right?
perfect.
It's like this in between where
Hmm.
we're not where we were, but we're not quite where we're supposed to be yet. And so right now it's really about creating a sacred space within yourself so that you're like able to receive those messages moving forward, right?
Yeah, and I think too, when you practice that solitude and you really practice that trust, you can do it anywhere, even in the most
Absolutely.
crowded space, right? But as you practice and you really start to listen to your body and how it speaks to you, like it's going to change your journey and your confidence as well.
Absolutely. I like that creating that inner calm, that inner peace within the storm around you, because there's always going to be stuff going on,
Absolutely.
right? It's just
Hmm.
about how you're going to navigate through it and what energy you're going to come at it with, right? So
Right,
I
totally.
love that. That was an amazing card. Perfect for
Ooh,
everything that's going on. Okay, so
I love it.
I feel like we needed some softness today with the Rose Oracle card deck being it's the day of the feminine. Open. Yes. Open times three, threefold, right? We are
Oh,
open.
that's
We
you're
are
expanding.
saying yes, expand through the extremes and trust life. I love
Yeah, that's
that.
so beautiful.
One big well, when we were just at the last retreat, what was the big one for everybody? Receiving, opening, right? And we can't
Yes,
receive if we don't open our heart space to
right.
receiving, right?
Hmm. Or even just think about like reaching out your hands. Like you cannot receive, help or guidance unless you reach for it, right? Like
Hmm.
as we know, you have to ask for guidance and support. They can't just step in and help you. So,
They cannot.
and like you have to be open,
Hmm. And understand that you actually are not on this journey alone and that you have support. You just have to ask, right?
right?
Yeah. So, this is probably one of the biggest challenges of life, keeping your heart open through the extremes. No one is immune to the highs and lows of the human experience, from the ecstasy to the agony, the joy to the grief, the love to the loss. We can't bypass the difficult parts of being human if we want to truly experience the bliss, right? So, we were talking about the duality. You can't have one without the other. You can't have the shadow
Hmm.
without the dark. You can't have the happiness without the sadness. Like, it's about like as far as the pendulum sways one way, will always sway back the other, right? If
Absolutely.
you close your heart off to the grief, you won't be able to fully experience the joy. The rose teaches us this season after season. She knows that if she doesn't surrender to each of the seasons, come summer, she won't be able to bloom. Birth teaches us this too. The safer the mother feels, um, the more she can open. Living and dying with your heart open is truly a courageous act, as a life well lived is full of losses and tragedies, as well as great love, triumphs, and adventures. When you're going through
Hmm.
difficult times, when we most want to separate, the healing is often found in connection, not separation. When we close our heart and shut down because the pain is too much, we often find ourselves more separate than before. The rose shows us how to open to the world no matter what the day brings. This card is here to encourage you to say yes to life, to expand through the extremes, and to put your 2 feet wholly and completely in. And the soul inquiry is, how can you say yes to life?
Oh, see, like I'm trying to find the connection between the two cards too, because mine
Hmm.
was more about like retreating in solitude, but at the same time, like it's that one thing about like you can't. you can't pour from an empty cup, right? So if that's going to be threefold on your card, then you have to think about the work that needs to be done inward so that you can spread that outwardly to the
Absolutely.
world, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you have to be able to trust yourself that you're going to be able to, support other people or support yourself and like really, feel what's going on and go through whatever's happening and trust that you're going to make it through because you've done the work.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's also about like opening to the divine, right? Opening to the
Hmm.
guidance, right? Because even when we turn
Well,
inward,
there
we're
you
still
go. Yeah,
needing to open, right?
totally.
We're still needing to open our heart. We're still needing to open our third eye. We're still needing to open our crown chakra in order to receive all those downloads and to receive the messages and
Absolutely.
everything, right?
Hmm.
So, yeah,
Yeah, so going and
love
sitting and
that.
meditating in that solitude and really taking it all in. I guess, yeah, see,
Hmm.
there you go. That's the connection. That's the connection,
Maybe,
I
I don't
think.
know, you can interpret
I
it
like
different
that one
ways.
better. I like
I don't
that one better
actually,
than
you know
mine.
what would be really cool is if we had people like comment their interpretation, because I'm sure we have some witchy
Yes,
women who are
comment down
super
below
intuitive. That
wherever
would be
you're
super
listening
awesome.
today.
Start a
Yes. Oh
conversation
my
on
God, I
that,
love that.
right?
Totally, because everybody does interpret it differently. And it's just like one of those things where I don't know. Personally, I really liked your interpretation. It was beautiful.
Oh, you're so sweet.
It was so good.
Oh,
It
I
was
love
so good.
this.
Yes, I
Well,
mean, this is so exciting.
yes, I'm very excited for more things that are to come. And like Shannon said, please comment on the podcast, like share any aha moments that you have, share anything that you would love for us to talk about even. We would
Yes,
love some
please do.
ideas because we
Hmm.
are here to support you the best way that we're able to
Yeah,
and share
share
our
what we know.
stories.
Hmm.
Absolutely. So, is there anything else you want to share before we wrap it up? Or
No, I'm just like really grateful to be here, and I'm really grateful for everybody who's going to choose to spend their time with us right now and listen to us sit here and chat it up a little bit, and I hope that when you come and listen to us that you feel like you belong and like we're your sisters because that's the feeling that we want to give is that we're your sisters. We're here to share our knowledge with you, impart information, and kind of be silly and have fun. Right now, it
yes,
might not seem that way. This is our first run, so it's just going to get a little more sassy, I'm sure, as we go because that's kind of our personalities, and I can't wait for more of that to come through as well. So I hope you guys continue to keep listening and keep watching. And
yeah,
yeah, I look forward to building a community.
absolutely. Because that's what it's all about, right? Us all coming together and supporting one another. And um,
Absolutely, yeah.
we want to hear your stories as well. Like, and if you relate to how you're like we're feeling or where we were at or whatever else. But um, yeah, other than that, like, thank you. Many blessings to you, beautiful souls, on this witchy goddess day. I still resonate with the goddesses being witchy. I don't know
Yeah,
about
me
you,
too.
Shannon.
Yeah, I do too.
I
I'm
think
sure
they
people
are
will have
like,
their opinions about that, but we'll take it.
I don't know, like witches being like magical and the goddess is magical, right? Like, so why not?
Yeah, we are multifaceted beings, okay?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
I would love that. Okay. Well, this has been a pleasure, and we look forward to sharing more information with you guys in the future. And yeah, I hope you all have beautiful, beautiful rest of your day.
Yes, happy Friday the 13th.
Happy Friday the
And
13th.
thank you for listening to the Witchin Sisters. Come back and
Yes.
hang out with us.